Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh. Today the Sikh Spectrum has come to Solihull Fire Station, and we're going to interview Agyapal Singh, who is one of the members here, to understand exactly what this rescue team does. So, first of all, Agyapal Singh, Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh. So, Agyapal, I mean, you're the infrastructure engineer for the West Midland Fire Service. So we've come here today to Solihull Fire Station because there is some sort of rescue mission that you're on. Could you explain what's all that about?
Thank you very much, Gurdeep. Thank you very much for the Sikh channel to come down and actually give an opportunity to share with you some of the small things that I am privileged to be involved with Guru's Kirpa. And today we are here at Solihull Fire Station with the UK International Search and Rescue Team. And the reason why we're here today is because we are simulating an international disaster, which is going to be a 4-day exercise. And the reason why we're doing this is so that we can respond to disasters as we have done previously in Indonesia, in Haiti, in New Zealand, and in Japan.
Okay, well, before we start and talk about the various places that you've been to, why don't you tell us about your, where you grew up, your family, education, and did you always want to be in the fire service?
Well, I was born in India, and I came over when I was at a very small age. I'm not educated. I just remember my father, and he says, "Mundia parla." And I says, "Dad, keep it." And he says, "Mundia parla, so I can hold my head up high in the community." And that's always been in the back of my head and whatever. My father passed away now, but that's in my head. And I used to watch him when he was smaller. And he was always a hands-on person, always doing something in the community. He was always willing to put himself out. And I think what he was doing, I've taken on board, and that's what I'm doing now in the seva that I do today.
So where did you grow up? I mean, the school that you went to, I assume you haven't got a degree, or have you?
I wasn't educated at all. I went to college. But I think, as with a lot of our, Sikh youngsters, we work hard, we put ourselves out and go the extra mile. And with hard work and dedication, we can achieve anything. So I've worked hard, and I've worked my way up the ladder, and very fortunate now to be working for the West Midland Fire Service in an excellent job. And that has also given me a lot of opportunities to do a lot of charity work all over the world, which I would never have thought as a youngster that I would ever do.
So, I mean, the UK Fire and Rescue, or International Search Team, as you refer to, what does that comprise of? And exactly what do you do? I mean, do you wait for someone to ring you up and say, "Ke aaj disaster ho gaya this part of the world"? I mean, how does that all come together?
I will ask Lee and Jeff to come in a bit later on to explain a bit more of how International Search and Rescue actually operate. But being selected and being privileged to be selected for the team means that when I'm on call, I have to be able to respond to any international disaster within 2 hours. So I'm on call, I've got my pager, I've gone to now Gurdwara, or I've gone to a wedding, I've had the pager, 2 hours, I'm here. My bag is packed, my passport is ready, and within 2 hours I'm here, and we're ready to deploy anywhere in the world.
Right. So, well, let's talk about one of the places that you've actually, you went to as a rescue team. That was Indonesia. So, I mean, when did this happen about going? I mean, this is regarding the tsunami, is it? So, what sort of work did you do, part of that team, when you went?
Well, in 2008, I was fortunate to be selected, and Lee Ivory will come and tell you about how I got selected, or whether I should have been selected. But in 2008, I got selected. 2009, there was a earthquake in Padang, Sumatra, in Indonesia, and I was not on call to go, but one of the other teammates was sick, couldn't make it, and I was told, Agya, 12 o'clock I was rang up a time and said, Agya, you got to go. And I say, and they say, are you ready? And I says, ready? If I got to go, I got to go. And they say, okay, you be ready, get to headquarters, which is in Birmingham. We've got transport waiting for you. Initially, they were going to get a helicopter to take me to Gatwick, but the helicopter then was engaged, and then they got a police car, an unmarked police car, who then drove me all the way to Gatwick Airport, personally escorted me to the plane so that I could then go and carry out my duties in Indonesia. And in Indonesia, my role as the communication support is to make sure that there's communications for all the firefighters who are going out looking for bodies. So there's radio communication, satellite communications. There's also then our own internal command structure where we set up a complete network, printers, PCs, and radios. And then we also provide a satellite communication link back to headquarters, back to our command, which is at Birmingham, who then will feed and propagate the information to the other brigade, and also then to 10 Downing Street as well.
So, I mean, this is your one team of many, I assume, that go to a particular disaster when it happens around the world. But there was one disaster that happened where your team actually rescued a young girl who had been trapped for some time. Do you mind explaining what happened there and where that was?
Well, that is a prime example of one of the reasons why I joined, and volunteered. And let's be quite clear, I don't get paid any money for this. This is voluntary seva that I do. There was an international disaster in Haiti. There's a little girl that was trapped in a building which had, collapsed. The UK rescue team was still here. The UK government then decided to send us out to Haiti. We flew. I wasn't part of that team. I was looking after the command function here in Birmingham, but my teammates, they flew all the way around to the other side of the world, and they rescued the one and only sole survivor of that earthquake, which was a little girl, and Rudy Parks, my team member, rescued this girl, and that made our job worthwhile. And if I was a small part of supporting the team in whatever function I was able to save that child, then my job is worthwhile. And that is what our gurus taught us, to do seva, not just for yourself, but also for others. And it doesn't matter. What did Guru Nanak say? He says, Ek Onkar, there is only one God. It doesn't matter how you pray to him, there is only one God. So the seva should be from the heart for everybody, and it should be inclusive.
Okay, I want to pick up on that point about seva. A lot of people, constantly sort of in their think ke seva to ohi hundi jo gurdwara ja ke karde. And I think you've highlighted that actually the seva that you're doing, because you're not getting paid for this work. Do you get involved in anything to do with the gurdwaras in terms of doing some seva at the gurdwara, at your local gurdwara, or do you just do the seva outside that you've been talking about?
Well, I've been involved with a number of gurdwaras doing a lot of seva. And one of the examples is at Smedhi Gurdwara. We've got a fantastic team of people who all do voluntary seva. Kuldeep Singh Man, Malli Singh, Savinder Malli, we all do this seva, and it's out of our heart. When the previous building was made, under Malli Singh, we done all the wiring of the building and saved the Gurdwara £40,000. And we've continued to help maintain the Gurdwara as well. But then you get... Sometimes I feel that even though I'm a Sikh, because I'm not a baptized Sikh, I'm put on a lower pedestal and they are on a higher pedestal. Perhaps this shouldn't be the case. And prime example is, committee members, they all say Munne shouldn't be in the Gurdwara, even though most of the Gurdwara was started with, with Munne and the money from Munne, And I remember when health and safety became an issue in the Gurdwaras, fire service regulations came in. You need youngsters and educated people to come in and advise. And the Gurdwara trustee members are going, no, we're not interested. And we said, look, but we're saving you all this money, and we've saved you money 40,000 times before. We've done all this seva. And they go, no, we don't want you to do any more seva. We'd rather spend the Sanghat's money and pay somebody to do it. And when they said that, I walked away from the Gurdwara and I thought, seva doesn't have to be always in the Gurdwara. If they don't want my seva, there's a lot of other places to do seva as well. And coincidentally, that was the same time where I got an opportunity to start going to Romania and other places.
Yeah, what you're doing today then? What is the plan? That I see all this equipment here is being ready to get packed into your van over there. What's happening today about this?
So at the moment, when we get deployed, like I says, within 2 hours, we're here, ready to deploy.
Okay, so Agyapal, let's talk about the equipment that you're going to take with you on this mission, and how the whole training, I assume, is about and how quickly you need to get there. Before we go over there, how quickly have you got to respond from your pager?
As soon as we get a message on the pager, within 2 hours, we are here.
Right.
We load all equipment onto the van, and then hopefully by that time we will have been told which airport we're going to get to. In the van, we'll get to the airport, and the British government will have then got a plane ready for us. It'll either be a commercial plane or it'll be a military plane. That is up to the UK government to decide. But from my point of view, my passport is ready and my bags are packed, and this is what I take. Now for the next 7 to 10 days, my sleeping accommodation, my toothpaste, anything that I need to survive for the next 7 to 14 days. This is just some of the equipment that we take. This is to do with the communication and the command support. Right. So I'm going to get Jeff to actually tell you about all the equipment that we take. Okay. And we do take lots of equipment.
Okay, so we're going to introduce Jeff March, who's a fire service officer, I assume, at the moment, here in Solihull. So, Jeff, what's being loaded here today for this training that you're doing? Because it's not a real disaster at the moment. I assume you have a number of training sessions in the year, do you?
We do. Do you want me to hold this? Everything you see here is the equipment that we'd use for a real deployment. And this is a chance to test our procedures and test our equipment. We've got 3/4 of a ton of, this is just the communications and command and control equipment. There's other fire brigades which carry the logistics and the cutting equipment for the rescue procedures, but we just deal with the command and control. So the equipment you see in this warehouse allows us to deploy anywhere in the world and set up a mobile command and control centre. So we have tentage, we have the communications equipment to be self-sufficient for 2 weeks. The communications equipment.
What's in this then, in terms of this box here?
In this box here, you've got the manifest there. We've got radio ancillaries, engineers test equipment for, like Agya when he comes along is our special engineer. All his test equipment is in there. It's too high tech for me to explain, but Agya could tell you about that. Yeah. Basically, what we've got, we are reliant on communications. It's massively important. So every system we've got has to be backed up with another system. So we rely on satellites to provide our PC and laptop data. And we've also got satellite telephones. For the teams on the ground, they have handheld radios, which have a limited distance. So we carry a 12-foot mast, or a radio mast to increase the distance. If you can imagine turning up to a country like Haiti that's been through a massive disaster, the mobile phone system is not going to be up and running. It's going to be massively oversubscribed, and we can't rely on that, so we have to have other communication systems to allow us to communicate.
Right. So all these boxes here that you've got are all going to go today, are they?
They're all going to go. There's six of these big yellow boxes.
Right.
We've got the 4 bags of tents over there. We take all our own stationery and print and paper ink. So we run it like a little office.
Right.
And we have that as the part of the command tent. The other part of the command tent is it's a briefing area. So the team leader can brief his crews on the deployment, but it's also, when it's not being used for a briefing area, it can also be used for the welfare of the technicians, which allows them to come in and use Skype so they can speak to their loved ones back at home.
Right, right. Excellent. So, thank you very much for explaining some of the stuff that you're taking with you. Okay, we're going to talk to Lee Ivory, the guy that employed Agyapal. I just mentioned that he's got a double barrel name, by the way.
Yes.
So there's some royalty here.
There is a little.
So, Lee, what about your role in this whole, fire and rescue? What is the role that you play here?
Well, as regards UK ISAR, I'm the Blue Team Deputy Team Leader. So one of the management, there's 4 management staff, 2 teams, red and blue, so I'm the Deputy Team Leader. And as my day job, I work at the Technical Rescue Unit in Bickenhill, which is our kind of everything but fires. So rope rescue, swift water rescue, urban search and rescue, bariatric, confined space, major transport, everything basically other than fires.
Right, right. So what are the which places abroad have you been to? I know that recently, I think there's been a number of disasters around the world. You don't get called to everyone. I mean, is there a link between the UN and the British government when they decide where to send the team?
Yeah, there is. As regards deployment, there has to be an official request from the host nation into the British government. That request goes to the Department for International Development. We have a memorandum of understanding with DFID, and we have a liaison with them as regards whether we feel, as a search and rescue team, it's suitable for us to go, whether we can actually, create any kind of impact. So, some instances, you might see on the telly there be an earthquake, but it might not be suitable for us to potentially to go. But there must be that international request. That runs through into the UN, into a group called INSARAG, which is the International Search and Rescue Group. And they're the umbrella organisation that we sit under. So all of our standards have to meet their guidelines.
Right. So everyone, there must be loads of teams like yourselves around in other countries. So how does one decide that, in this country you're allowed to go in? You must pick one person or one team that's going to look after or coordinate all the activities, or not?
As regards a team that's going to actually look after the whole of the coordination, that's quite a hot topic, really, because it's just on the cusp of change, which is what this exercise that we're going to this weekend is all about. But in years gone by, that coordination will be done by an UNDAC team, which is the United Nations Disaster and Assessment and Coordination Team. Once on the ground, they will decide which teams go where for various taskings.
Okay, and my last question I want to ask you, so you must have employed Agyapal, I assume. So what made you actually take him on? Was there something that you saw in Agyapal thinking, okay, I'll bring him into the team?
Yeah, thinking back, the bottom line really is that in years gone by, we've always done our command role that Aggie does now. But we weren't a hugely, IT literate team, and the IT wasn't, the developments they are now. And in some cases, yes, you can run it on a flip chart with some pens, really, if push comes to shove. But IT makes it so much easier, with file sharing and everything else. And initially, what we put our own package together that involved some IT, and the ICT department, including Aggie, were really, really supportive of us when we were doing it ourselves. But as we moved on and on and on, we realised that we needed more support. We needed support in the field. So we looked at a few of the engineers that had really helped us in the days before they were in the team, and we asked them to come on board, with them obviously knowing the role that we did, and us knowing them at the same time. So it was a good move all round.
No, thank you very much. I mean, I think he's ideal for your team. So and it makes the Sikhs very proud that he's actually here, going for all the support. So no, thank you very much. Okay, so Peter, you've worked with Agyapal, and I wanted to ask you about, first of all, how did you get to know him and how does he work with yourselves? I know that the team's quite close. So why don't you explain some of the work that you've also been doing in Romania, and what other disaster recovery procedures around the world have you been with Agya?
Okay. I first met Agya when we went to Romania about 1995. I've been involved in the Romania project for the last 20 years. We've been going over to Siret and Bucharest in northern Romania to do a lot of charity work, building places for the young people who are in the institutions to come out and to have somewhere to live. The one year we had a break from that, so another guy decided to do a trip to a different part of Romania, and Agya was invited on that one. So we went along. It was a 2-week trip, same kind of thing, do some maintenance work on different projects, and that's when I first met Agya. So we work very close. There's four people in the IT section, if you like, the comms people, Agya and 3 of his colleagues. So if it's not Agya, it will be one of his people who work in the same department, and they're responsible for setting all the IT equipment up, all the laptops, getting the internet connection back to the UK, sorting out all the wireless Wi-Fi, the satellite phones and everything else. So Agya is a godsend really, because we're mainly search and rescue, so we break concrete and things like that. We do have a good knowledge of command and control on the IT side, but Agya is the brains behind it all, really.
Okay, well, I want to thank you very much. Agyapal, I want to talk about your work that you've done at Tanzania. That work is not for the whole of the UK rescue. Is it something especially with the Midland Fire and Rescue Team? Can you sort of explain what you've been doing there?
Once I got involved with the UK International Search and Rescue Team, I became aware that they were also doing a lot of good charity work abroad. And previously they'd gone to Pakistan to train firefighters, and I found that they were also going over to Tanzania to train firefighters over there. And it progressed from there, where they started getting involved with refurbishing an orphanage in Tanzania. And when I talked more about it, the more I talked about it, the more I felt that's what I want to get involved with, because they were going over to an orphanage in Tanzania where this orphanage had 200 children in there, children with no arms, no legs. They were albino kids, and if people don't know what albino kids are, those are the black kids who are white skinned. But in Africa, the witch doctors propagate the myth that if you kill, an albino kid, it will bring you good luck. So what they do is they kill these children, and then you have their bones in their houses, and this orphanage, protects these children, these vulnerable children. And when I heard all this and I found out they were doing all this good work, I thought, no, I've got to be part of this, one way or another. And that's where I started doing some work in Tanzania.
So is that a charity that you support then, in terms of who funds that project then? Because that's not government funded, is it?
All the work that we do, we fund ourselves. We are very fortunate that when we go to Tanzania, there's a company over there who sponsors us for the accommodation. They provide accommodation for us. They provide us with vehicles so that we can go backward and forwards to carry out our work. We've been fortunate enough for the Emirates to sponsor our flights. But any money that we raise, every single penny goes on the children, or they go on the refurbishment. We do not spend any money for ourselves. So we are always quite clear. Any money you give us will go on the children. So what we always say, for example, if somebody's listening to the Sikh channel wanted to sponsor our flights to Tanzania, then we're more than happy to do the next refurbishments, dedicate it to them, and then stick a plaque up on the wall, as a dedication to them. So any money we spend goes on the children. We are quite clear that, yes, we do need sponsorship for, flights or things like that, but it's always separate money from the kids, and the rest of the money we spend ourselves out of our own pockets.
I didn't actually know that, the thing about the albino children in Africa. I think, I think that's really great work that you do. What about, have the Gurdwaras ever sponsored these things? I mean, when you've gone to them, or have you never actually asked for Gurdwaras to do this sort of thing?
I think with Seva, you got to start with Seva yourself. It's got to, the Guru says, look at yourself within yourself, and look at the Seva, your heart, and project that to others. So I don't go and beg for money for any Gurdwara. I don't ask for beg for money from anywhere else. First thing I do is I do the Seva. If now somebody else says, Agyapal, you're doing something good, can I assist you? Then I'll say, Paji, you could come in with me and do the Seva with me. And that's how I operate, is that I don't ask for money. I say, you want to do Seva? Come with me, let's do the Seva together.
Okay, you want to move on because most of your team has now packed up. That's all the noise that we're hearing with the heavy equipment. What about talking about Romania? Did you want one of your colleagues to talk about it, or what was happening in Romania?
All these members that you see here today, when I go with them, whether it's to international deployment or whether it's a voluntary Seva in Tanzania or whether previously we've gone in Romania, they don't see me as a Sikh, they don't see me as coloured, they just see me as another human being, and they treat me like a brother. I treat them like a brother, and it reminds me of Guru Gobind Singh when he created the Khalsa, that we are all equal. We are, all, believe in the same God.
No, I want to thank you for sharing this day. I know it was a bit sort of last minute that we rang you up. And is there anything else that you'd like to share with the Sikh channel viewers?
Yeah. Firstly, I do want to thank the Sikh channel for coming and showcasing some of the work that I do and some of the small work that I do. But more importantly, I would like the people who watch this program to say, not look at what I've done, but what have you done? Look around you. Don't be blinkered and say, Seva's only in the Gurdwara. Do your Seva in the Gurdwara, but look around you. There's lots of things that you can do out there where, you can make a difference. Our Gurus taught us that. Gurus didn't say go to the Gurdwara and do Seva. Gurus said go out and help others. So I'm doing my bit. Can you say you're doing your bit? If not, go out and do it. Now, the fire service has been very supportive in the work that I do. Vij Randanaya, he's the Chief Fire Officer of the West Midlands Fire Service. He's been very supportive. But, one thing I do want to say is that I go and make Saag at Solihull Gurdwara. I didn't want to mention the Gurdwara, but when I go make Saag, I've got our main man, we work for Uncle Ji. His name is Agyapal Singh. And when I first started doing Saag, the duty there, he says to me, Agyapal, Seva kariya. Kenda jama kariya. Kenda one day you will need it. But he says, don't we put a bit in and then take a bit out. Put a bit in and take a bit out. Kenda jama kariya. And then a few years ago, I had a cancer scare, and even the consultant thought I had cancer and whatever. And they were sending me for a biopsy. I ended up on the operating theatre, and basically I died on the operating theatre. They ended up having to cut me all the way from there to there. Consultant says, Mr. Singh, I had no choice. I either let you die, or I had to cut you open. But he says the good thing is you will live. And when I went back to Seva Singh, he says, Agyapal, what did I say to you? Your Seva one day will save you. And from then on, I had a second chance at life. And I've carried on with my Seva because I said, God's given me a second opportunity to do something with my life. And with the support of my children, and with the support of my family, and with the support of all the families around me, I've been able to continue that. And I want other people listening to the Sikh channel to do the same thing. And I'm going to thank Gurdeep and the cameraman and the Sikh channel for actually allowing me to share a small part of my life.
Well, I hope that's, has enlightened some of our viewers. I did not even know about the cancer scare. I only found this out today, actually. But so I think the seva that Agyapal is doing is quite incredible. ਤੇ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਸਾਰਿਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਇਹ ਸੋਚਣਾ ਚਾਹੀਦਾ ਕਿ ਅਸੀਂ ਸੇਵਾ ਕਿੱਦਾਂ ਦੀ ਕਰਦੇ ਹਾਂ, ਸਪੈਸ਼ਲੀ ਇਨ ਦ ਗੁਰਦੁਆਰੇ ਕਿ ਸਿਰਫ ਗੁਰਦੁਆਰੇ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਸੇਵਾ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੋ ਸਕਦੀ, ਬਾਹਰ ਜਿਨ੍ਹਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਜ਼ਰੂਰਤ ਆ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੀ ਮਚ ਮੋਰ ਇੰਪੋਰਟੈਂਟ ਆ. So with that, I want to thank you, Agyapal, and let's do further together. So, and I hope to see you on the next Sikh Spectrum. ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕਾ ਖਾਲਸਾ, ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕੀ ਫਤਿਹ.